Hi everybody, it's Ron and Maria, back with another edition of Ask Ron. So our first question is from Fernando in Connecticut.
Fernando!
In Connecticut, foreclosures can take over 2 years. The seller's attorney recommends not doing a mortgage wrap because of the long waiting period. I prefer not to do a lease purchase with loan payoff amount as the option price. I will have to put $20,000 down to do immediate repairs. Would you consider giving more guarantees to satisfy the seller's attorney?
Fernando, I'm not sure what you just said. Okay, you said it takes up to 2 years to do a foreclosure, which tells me that that has nothing to do with you buying, but certainly you don't want to sell with owner financing. You want to do a lease purchase, as I do here in Florida. I heard in there that your seller is apprehensive of selling to you with owner financing. If that's the case and they don't want to do that, the only other choice is to do a lease purchase from them. I will tell you though, most sellers don't know what you know about foreclosures, so I certainly wouldn't bring it up. And you're just going to have to do case by case and adjust accordingly. If the only way you can buy it is on a lease purchase and it is worth doing, then so be it. But now I hear you want to spend $20,000 on repairs, so therein lies a problem. We don't spend money repairing somebody else's house. So here's the long and the short of it. You're either going to buy it with owner financing or you're going to walk. And that's exactly what you got to tell the seller. If their house needs $20,000 worth of work, watch how fast they ignore their attorney's advice and sell it to you anyway. You're a bird in the hand. All they see is birds in the bush. If they want to get out of it, you're their best option. And no, I'm not going to give them additional collateral. I'm not going to put my home on the line. I'm not going to do any of that crap. Houses are all over the place. Frankly, they can take it or they can leave it. Or they can leave it and come back to you when they're ready to take it. And that's all you can do. Tell them what you can do, leave it in their hands.
And our next question comes in from Camrin from California.
Camrin?
What is the outcome if my buyer agrees to a deposit so large that it over-leverages my stake in the deal?
So in other words, your buyer is willing to put down more than the equity in the house is what I'm hearing. That's a good thing. I'll tell you what I would do. He didn't give me the numbers, but let's say the buyer's putting up, I don't know, $10,000 more than equity in the house. I would take the entire deposit, but I would set aside the difference in an account. Because if your buyer comes to closing, you're going to have to bring that money so that loan can get paid off. But the good news is, you got a better chance of your buyer not coming to closing than coming to closing. So no, I don't want to take it and pay down the debt. I want to set the difference aside in the bank account so I'm prepared if the buyer does cash me out early. That's what I would do, and in fact I have done that a couple times myself.
And our next question comes from Tanara from Maryland.
Hello?
How do you know how to figure out what properties to have your VA call? Are you looking at the asking price or what?
Tanara, your VA should call any FSBO and all FSBOs, regardless of the asking price. Because honestly, you should be working from the lower prices on up to the big higher prices. Remember, you're not taking any personal risk. You're not guaranteeing any notes. You're not putting up great big chunks of money. So there's really no way you can lose regardless of the price of the house. To not try to pick and choose which houses the VA calls. If they're in your area and they're for sale by owner, let the VA call them all. Because until they do, you don't know what you have to work with. And when they do come back and say yes to terms, I don't care what, in fact, a higher price the better. It may have occurred to you that I can get a whole lot more money down on a $700,000 house than I can on a $200,000 house. And that is the game. Higher price the house, the bigger the deposit I get. So if I can get in the house with little or no money out of my pocket, big old chunk of money. In fact, a big enough chunk of money to exceed what most people make a whole year working. On a $700,000 house in my example, I probably wouldn't take less than $100,000 down. So if I got in with nothing down, even if I got in with $20,000 down, where does the other 80 go? Right in your pocket. Call them all.
And our last question is from Fernando again.
Okay.
I have a signed purchase and sale agreement, but the seller's attorney is refusing to honor it. He believes it would violate the law and put the seller in an extremely dangerous predicament in which she remains liable under the note and mortgage to her lender.
Okay, well that The attorney's advice is almost correct. It absolutely is not against the law. I don't know where he got that from. However, of course the loan stays in the seller's name, and of course they're at risk, because if you don't pay, now they got to pay. That's the case anywhere in the country 100% of the time. That's all what seller financing is all about if they have an underlying debt. So it comes back to letting the seller decide what's best for them. And you might want to suggest to the seller, could you have your attorney tell me what law it would violate and point us to the statute where that is disclosed, because there is no statute and her attorney will not be able to do that. However, we've already just discussed covering their apprehensions if they don't want to sell with owner financing. Your only other choice is to lease purchase it. I'm not sure this is the same deal you were talking about earlier, but again, we're not doing that if the house needs $20,000. Well, we could. I could lease purchase the house as is, as long as I sold it as is. I'm not putting $20,000 in it before I sell it. And that's very possible if I lease option it out on a work for equity program. In fact, that's what I do. You're never going to see me put $20,000 in a house that has a high debt on it and not that much equity. No way. I'll buy it as is, I sell it as is. Okay? I hope you get that, Fernando. Just switch it over to a lease option if you have to.
All right, and that's all we have for this week.
That's all. Okay. That didn't even stretch my brain on that one. All right. I know it's getting old, guys, but if you ain't registered for the summit yet, RES 2018, you're going to blow it, because the hotel is almost full already, and you do not want to be at another hotel where this thing is going on. But I'm going to get registered right now. Tell you what, I'll reserve the pickup truck just for you. No, I won't. Somebody's going to win a brand new pickup truck, though. And don't forget, Gene Simmons is going to be there. He'll be there on the 14th, incidentally. February. He'll be there on Valentine's Day. That'll be the first day of the convention, because this year we start at 8 a.m. on Wednesday, not 7 p.m. on Tuesday. Got a lot going on. So I'll see you next week. Go get some deals going. Send those questions in. Don't forget to tell me what city and state you live in when you do, please.